Hi, everybody. It's Fiona Lewis here from Super Savvy Business with our next podcast. Now, today we're going to be talking about a very hot topic in the world of business, and that is the topic of outsourcing. And on our call today, I brought with me Rob O'Byrne. And Rob O'Byrne is a serial entrepreneur, and he now runs 6 businesses. And he does all of this and still manages 2 to 3 holidays a year. And the reason why I've asked Rob to come on this call is the key to his success is that he's been able to do all of this through building outsourcing teams. So Rob and I have known each other, gosh, I think it's been quite a number of years, at least 6 or 7 years now, I'd say. Rob, would you say?
Well, I think it is, Fiona. It's been a while.
It has been a while. And we met through an entrepreneurial group, and we've stayed in touch over the years, and we help each other out and give each other hints and tips. And we met the other day for lunch, and we were chatting about outsourcing and the pitfalls and the challenges and the benefits, most importantly. And we felt that it would be a fantastic topic to get on the podcast show about, and just to share with our audience a couple of hints and tips if they're not currently outsourcing, of the sort of things they need to watch out for, the kind of things that work and don't work, and where you might even go about finding an outsourced team. So, Rob, I'll share my story in a little while about how I ended up outsourcing right from the beginning. But how did you actually come across them? What sort of started your journey in using virtual teams?
Yeah, look, to be honest, Fiona, I probably didn't even know anything about outsourcing until about 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't even know it existed for small businesses. I think we're all aware of, the big Telstra call centres and things like that, but I think this awareness of, how it can help startups and small businesses and entrepreneurs really just wasn't there, certainly not for me. And I guess I've been running my own small businesses now for almost 20 years, and I'd sort of reached this point, I guess, of total burnout. I had a couple of businesses at the time. I was working 100 hours a week, really stressed. I'd gone through a divorce. Things were sort of falling apart for me. And then I suddenly latched on to the fact that, hang on, here I am in a situation like so many other small business owners where I can't afford full-time staff. I can't do it all myself. It's just getting on top of me. And suddenly here was an opening to actually find really good quality professional people at a very low cost. And I was introduced, I suppose, first of all, to just hiring people for one-off tasks online. And that worked really well. I mean, was that a similar experience for you?
Yeah, well, I think just hearing you talk about that, and like you say, a lot of people are familiar with the idea of outsourcing with the big corporate companies and the call centres and the support desks. But it wasn't really till the 4-hour work week came out that it kind of became a bit more mainstream, and people started to sort of open their eyes and realize that outsourcing wasn't just for the big corporates, and that you could be a small business or a micro business and have a team of people working for you. So for me, I guess because I started off in the internet marketing world back in 2008, it was just something that was commonly done in the industry that I'm in. So I was quite fortunate in that from the day that I started in my business, I was aware of it, and I was working with other entrepreneurs who were already doing outsourcing. So for me, it was a natural step to take once I got to the point where there weren't enough hours in the day for me when I was a solopreneur. I then went on to hire my very first team member. And back then, I just went to an outsourcing agency. There's quite a lot of online websites that you can go
Yeah,
to.
I tried that. Did
Yeah,
it work for you?
yeah, well, look, it has and it hasn't. I mean, a lot of people might have heard of Odesk is one of the big ones. There was one called VWorker, but I think that got swallowed up by, what's the Australian one? It's called,
Not sure. Yeah, I tried Odesk, and I use Elance extensively now. I mean,
yes.
I think I'm up to about 250 projects on Elance.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people do go, and it's very hit and miss. I uh, I made my first hire for a web design job, and ended up with a team of, well, I thought I was hiring a person to work for me, but it turned out this was a person who was actually working in a larger agency over in India, and the person I was talking to wasn't even the one doing the work. and it
Yeah, I've had that
just,
happen.
yeah, it turned out to be a complete disaster. And I ended up having to forfeit the money for that job that I'd paid to those outsourcers and pay somebody else to do it because the work they did was terrible. It was grossly delayed. And I guess I learned the hard way very early on that outsourcing is not exactly an easy road. You know, there's certainly things you've got to watch out for. And I've learned that for me personally, I don't like working with agencies and teams.
No, no. I almost, without exception, in fact, online for specific tasks, without exception, I work with individuals,
Mm.
and I always set up the jobs online with the intention that it's going to be a really long-term relationship. Because I'm sure you found the same, but if you try to rush this, and I've seen people rush it, they want a specific task done, they post it up on Elance or another site, and they rush, and without a lot of preparation and communication with the potential outsourcer, and it just falls apart.
Mm.
So, I mean, I've learned through the hard way that you've got to have a really clear specification. I give them loads of supporting information so they understand exactly what I want to do. You might get 20 people or more responding. You've got to take the time to go through and check their feedback. It's like eBay. They all get feedback scores. Test out their portfolios that they've been working on. And it's very time consuming, I think, up front, but I prefer to do that so that I really get a great person. And I've had people working with me now for 5 years. It's
Yes.
just whenever I need, if I need an article written or there's some specific task, I go to Harry in France or I go to Fred in North America. They're like regular members of my team.
Yeah, and I think you've just hit the nail on the head. They're regular members of your team. So you shouldn't treat the hiring process any differently to the way you would if you were hiring someone on the
No.
ground here. So you've got to have the same sort of strict processes, like you say. You've got to check their references, check their portfolios, like you say, the feedback. And I often like to give them some sort of trial task just to check what it's like to work with them, because it's not just about their skill.
Yeah,
And I
that's a
think
good idea.
I think you'll agree, it's not just about their skills; it's also about their values and their ethics. And you can,
Absolutely, and their
yeah,
attitude. Yeah,
yeah,
I've just had I've just had a guy helping me with a very specialized website, and he's based in the sticks in North America. He's a lovely guy, very techie, and he took a long time to fix this really nutty problem on a website. And I said, "That's great. Well, what are we going to do next?" And he said, "Oh, look, there's naturally 2 or 3 things now we can do to really improve this website." So I said, "Yeah, let's get on with it." And this is all via email and chat and so on. And he said, "Oh, you're going to post it on Elance and get a few other bids." And I said, "Why would I do that? We've been working together for 2 months.
yeah.
Let's just get on with it."
Yeah, and I do find that, I mean, I'm the same as you. I've got people that I've been working with in Romania for 5 6 years, and I think the shortest time. Well, I actually did a new hire in February, but other than that, I think it's 18 months is the shortest time after that, and it's between
Mm,
18 months to 5 6 years. And I found that obviously, like you say, you'll have those one-off little short task project-based things. But generally speaking, I find it's best wherever you can to hire someone on a full-time basis,
mm,
and have that
mm,
person 100% dedicated to you and your business. Because if they're doing project work or they're part-time, sometimes I found that my work was kind of getting shoved to the bottom of the pile, or they wouldn't deliver when they were supposed to, because they were under pressure from another client who perhaps was paying them more or putting them on a harder deadline. And there's all sorts of problems I
mm.
find when they're having to deal with other clients.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because we work slightly different models. So I use individual outsourcers predominantly through Elance for specific tasks. I probably shouldn't be saying this on this podcast. I'm letting out all my secrets, but I've had books written and edited, and you'd be amazed at the things that you can get done. For full-time people, I actually tried some home-based outsourcers, so like freelancers, and I didn't find that worked for me, just for the reasons that you're saying, that they had, other clients and it was priorities and trying to reach them and the communication. And I just didn't find that work so well for me. I found actually for full-time people working in a more formal structure office environment works really well.
Mm. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, my team do work from their own homes, but we are very clear that these are your working hours. You need to be logged into Skype during those working hours. We have regular team meetings, so I run it as if it